Good evening, everyone. Welcome to another beautiful day with us on Live with Lloyd and a brand new month on top of that, to the very first day of April. All right. I am astronumerologist Lloyd Strayhorn, your host here on Live with Lloyd. And I consider all of you the family as far as I'm concerned. There's nothing like family at the end of the day. Trust me, no one does it alone or by themselves, alone or by themselves. You got your choice of the matter on that. As you see, I have my very special guest, Khalea Washington. I have known this young lady for at least over about 40 years. One thing, if you notice with the people I have on, are good friends. I'm consistent with my relationships with them. That's for the most part. And so I'm going to be bringing my guests on in a moment, but there's a couple of things I need to let you know, which is uh, today's show is brought to you by Manifest on Purpose, Ms. Kimberly. And in fact, the 2024 forecast for April aired today. I will give you more information about that, but she is a sponsor. Also want to give a notice to another sponsor that I have, Jazz Aphrodite. She is having a master number class on her birthday. I'm going to be having her on Monday, April the 15th. I think the book should be there. She's going to be talking about the classes. She might give you all a tease of what to expect. I know she's one of the best, and that's all I can say. Then on April the 13th, King Simon will be with Mama Ella that I was on with yesterday. Um, also, Shakira Moore. Also, the other young lady, I'll think of him. And of course, my buddy, we were on with him, Hank Rising Sun. That's on Saturday. Then on Sunday, I'll be joining them. And it's Adara. That's it. That's Adara. Okay. So between Saturday and Sunday, all at Nicholas Brooklyn at 1396 Fulton Street. And before I bring on my guests, let me give you the forecast. Please like, share, and subscribe. I forgot to put that down. After all this time, you think I'm getting used, but learn from Lloyd.
While we're waiting on
Okay, learn from Lloyd in us. I will not. Lloyd Strayhorn or Live with Lloyd will never DM you for monies. Okay, I just don't do that. Evidently, some people lately have been trying to fake my name. From the Live with Lloyd family, if y'all see that, that's a fake. And in fact, y'all can help me by reporting it too, because I can't keep my eyes on everything. There is one of my clients that challenged him and said, I'm going to call Lloyd. And she certainly texted me too. So bless her soul. But this is Monday, the very first day of a brand new month of April of 2024. The sun is in Aries. The moon is in the cardinal sign of Capricorn. It's now a 3 universal month because 8, the personal year, the universal year added to the 4th position month equals 12, and 1 plus 2 is 3. So that means a lot of people are going to have to be careful this month about being used or the victim or the sacrifice for the plans and intrigues of others. But it is a 4 universal week, a 4 universal day. So if you happen to be an Aquarius, like my guests coming up, Leo or Gemini, or born on the 1st, the 4th, the 10th, the 13th, the 19th, the 22nd, 28th, or 31st of the month, that will be. Let me say this. There is a lot of things going on right now. This is going to be a crazy month. Yes, it's supposed to be spring, but astrologically or cosmically, there are a lot of things in the heavens that I'm going to bring my guest on. We're going to be talking about 3 things. One was a week ago, last week on the 25th, Monday, there was a lunar eclipse, and less than 24 hours later, the barge ran into the Baltimore Bridge and it collapsed like toothpicks. Okay. As of today, Mercury goes retrograde, and then later on, there is going to be the solar eclipse. So I would like to, I did have on Dominic Carter, Dominic Combs, my good buddy, who's an astrologer, but the one that I've dealt with the most and known for the longest, and the one that's my go-to person if I got to, is Miss Khalea Washington. Khalea, how are you? Hold on, let me
Hey,
do.
Lloyd.
Hi,
How
lady. How
are
you
you?
doing? You're looking great, lady.
Thank you. I try.
Oh no, you don't have to. It's natural. It's natural. How you doing?
I'm doing well. I'm trying to work with and prepare for the elements, which is what we should all do. And that's why it's helpful and important to understand what's going on above so we'll know what to do below.
I know. Well, let's start with a week ago, last week, on Monday the 25th. That was a
Mhm.
lunar eclipse. How would you, as an astrologer of an extraordinary nature, because you are an empowerment specialist too, you're a solar biologist, whichever type you got, it's all good. It's official. How would you explain to the layperson what a lunar eclipse is and what does that
Okay.
mean?
Well, this is how I'm learning because I'm learning as I go. I studied astrology for over 40 years, and my primary focus is to understand what these planets and the signs that they're in, how they affect us, how to get the most out of it, when to recognize our good cycles, and how to get out of our own way. Now, it's only been the last 10 or 15 years that I started doing further study, like how does an eclipse impact you? And I've seen some strange things. Now, first, I want everyone to relax because I don't want you to think that every time there's a lunar eclipse or a solar eclipse, that something bad's going to happen or that
Exactly.
it's going to happen to you. But
Exactly.
what an eclipse represents, like most aspects, is a significant shift in the energy and the atmosphere. And places are just like people. So there's certain places where if the planets are out of alignment and moving backwards, because even though Mercury went retrograde today, just like when you read the news and they can tell you a week out that next weekend we're going to have rain or snow, when
Mm-hmm.
Mercury gets ready to go retrograde, it goes into its shadow for 10 days, sometimes up to 2 weeks. And it takes 2 weeks to come out of the shadow. So, with regards to the impact that a retrograde is going to have, we've already started to feel that energy. And I point that out because we were in the shadow of the retrograde, which represents communications, travel, computers, snafus, delays. It was a full moon and it was a lunar eclipse that day. So
Mm-hmm.
that's a
Mm-hmm.
lot. So I said, oh man, what should I do? Should I post on social media to be careful? Because I knew that the impact was going to be catastrophic somewhere in the world. But to me, that information was too generalized because something happens somewhere in the world every day. But as
Mm-hmm.
we got closer and closer to the full moon and the lunar eclipse, I just became overwhelmingly uncomfortable because I knew that the shoe was going to fall. I just was hoping the thud wasn't too loud and it wasn't too bad. And I said, look, you cannot control everything. And because I have a Virgo rising sign, we like to have all our facts, all our details, all our downs. And I said, just relax. You're going to be on with Lloyd next week. You'll be able to talk about it. Just focus on yourself. Don't go out today. Pray, fast, meditate, do everything to keep peace in your space, to burn sage. You cannot save the world. I reached out to my family and I made sure everybody was safe. I made sure that nobody was doing nothing new or going out of their way. The melatonin and I went to bed early because I could feel it on me just as sure as I was black. Now, one other thing, when there's a lunar eclipse or a solar eclipse, something doesn't have to happen that day, but it usually occurs within a couple of days leading up to it or up to 2 days, 2 weeks out. You can go
Mm-hmm.
back and check
Mm-hmm.
Katrina, you can go back and check the tsunami. there was always some off-kilter elements going on with the planetary alignment when these instances occur. I woke up at 4 o'clock in the morning. I never watched CNN in the middle of the night. I had fallen asleep with the TV on, and that's what I was seeing. And I was like, wow, wow. Now, going back to what you initially asked me, were
The
just,
lunar eclipse.
yeah, just it was the exact day that the moon was full, the
Mhm.
exact day that Mercury was in its shadow. So these are the kinds of things. Now, the most important thing for us is to realize that we are in cycles where the energy is kind of off. You might not even study astrology or know anything about astrology, but there are cycles and times in your life where you're feeling all this nervous energy, where you're feeling off, where you're trying to speak peacefully and everybody's aggressive. Learn to respect that. Learn to say, well, let me fall back. I don't know what's going on. I'm trying to make my point here, but they seem not to want to hear it. You know, let me, because what happens during this cycle is we tend to become, especially with Mercury being in Aries, we tend to be more aggressive. It's like, well, I'm going to make you hear me. I'm going to make you understand. And you become combative. So it adds to the mania in the air and the mania in the energy. And you become a part of the problem, despite the fact that you were well intentioned. You know, these cycles actually represent falling back, doing our inventory, purging, staying at peace, cleansing, giving things away, helping someone, looking in on people who are sick and shut in. Because cycles like this is when they become the most fearful, when things get a little bit more chronic, where they're afraid that they're alone, where the person that they thought were going to be there for them wasn't. I'm not saying sign up for the whole shift, but that unexpected check-in, that unexpected going to the store, this if we just shift and become more caring and less callous, if we resist the urge to win at all costs, and then during retrogrades, there's certain things you shouldn't do. This isn't an ideal time to move. This isn't an ideal time to buy a car unless it's short term. If it's something to get you from point A to point B, fine. When you get to point B and you get to the end of the run, don't waste your time going, oh, I thought that was it. It was to get you out of that situation.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
This is a cycle where things appear too good to be true, where you need to check the fine print.
That's interesting. Also, since the moon rules emotions and feelings, I guess, nowadays it says so and so is into their feelings and whatnot. What I just thought from a more, shall we say, an event view is that less than 24 hours that this barge bumps into the Baltimore Bridge, and it felt like a house of cards, which is so interesting. And it's interesting because it was by water, which is what
Mhm,
the moon represents, the element of water.
mhm. And
And
the tide is highest all over the world when the moon is full. So
yeah, and I
yeah.
was going to say the tide was probably higher than normal in a
Hmm.
full moon. And not only that, the city of Baltimore adds up to a two, which is also by water.
Hmm.
So it was just amazing. Now today is Mercury retrograde. There are so many things I hear about it. How often does it occur as a rule?
Mercury is the planet that deals with communications in astrology. It tells the astrologer, if they're looking at someone's chart, how they sound, how they speak, and how they respond to what they hear. Okay. It governs communications of all kinds. So it deals with phones, computers, televisions. This is that cycle where you call to make an appointment, and the person at the doctor's office is saying, please bear with me, my computer is frozen. That will happen during a retrograde, you
Yeah.
know. Um,
Hmm.
going back to that eclipse, I knew that when the bridge collapsed, that it was going to be a protracted situation, meaning, of course, they can't build it back right away. But because Mercury was in its shadow, I knew that the way that it appeared, it was going to be sort of an unfolding. You know what I mean? So we look at the bridge, you see the boat hit, you see them collapse. So at first, when they didn't know why, I assumed that the boat wasn't angled right. Okay. Mercury is in its shadow. So that means misinformation or having to revisit. A couple
Hmm.
of hours later, they said, no, it wasn't that the boat wasn't angled right, but that it wasn't working properly. And they sent out a mayday. And they said, we're going to have to find out if they sent out the mayday before it hit or after. I think it was like, what, a minute and 21 seconds? You know, these are par for the course for events that occur when Mercury is retrograde or delayed. So for everyday people, when Mercury is retrograde, um, don't sign important documents. You review them. You either take care of it before or after. Like I said, there might be some glitch or some fine print. This is short term situations. But the
Hmm.
main thing is staying calm and staying at peace because it's in Aries, you know, and Aries is a fighter. Aries is at war. Aries doesn't like their masculine energy challenged, whether it's male or female, you know. And what I was saying about caring for people and doing things for people, this is that cycle where you show your actions, uh, show people how you feel based on your actions as opposed to making verbal commitments. Because when Mercury goes direct or you get out of this cycle, you might realize I really meant that at the time, but I don't think I want to follow through with that, or that person doesn't seem to merit, or they're not reciprocating in kind. I think I answered your question. I hope I didn't go off topic. You
No,
know,
no, no, no. It would. I noticed they're all going to be in fire signs this year. So this is in Aries. What are the next two moving forward for 2024?
hold on one second. Let me look it up. This one is from April 1st to April 25th. The next one is August 5th to August 28th. And the last one is November 25th to December 15th.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So,
They're all in fire signs. Last year they were in, but I noticed they'll all be in an earth sign, or water sign, or air sign. In this case, all fire signs. I wonder what makes for that. But anyway, since they're all in fire signs and fire rules, uh, impulsiveness, actions, a proactive type of stance, does that mean that people have to be careful of overasserting themselves, maybe, or
well, the
looking or leaping before they look, maybe?
the compulsion, because it's in fire, is to stand up, is to fight back, to make your voices heard. So everything about a retrograde is not bad. It's just knowing how to use and respond to that energy. And when I say don't make commitments, you know, there are certain causes and certain things of our personal interests that we're very concerned about, and we might feel like we can't wait. It's okay if it's short term. You understand? The
Sure.
other thing I want to mention is that because these planets go stationary 3 times a year, there are people being born during that cycle. Now,
Yes.
every year, that doesn't mean that person is slow. That doesn't mean that that person is dumb or but they process things differently. It's like they're wired differently, especially depending on what sign their Mercury is in. Because Mercury is like this. If you're born under the sign of Aquarius, your Mercury, your planet of communications, which tells me how you sound, how you speak, and how you respond to what you hear, is only going to be in either the same sign you're born under, the sign before it, or the sign after it, because
Mm-hmm.
Mercury doesn't move that far from the sun. Now, if your Mercury, if you're an Aquarius and your Mercury is in Aquarius, by the way, there's also a place where each planet is at its absolute best. It's most comfortable there.
Mm-hmm.
Rules the sign of Gemini and Virgo, but Mercury is exalted in the sign of Aquarius. You are an Aquarius, I am an Aquarius, Oprah Winfrey is an Aquarius, and we all, on some level, make our way through our ability to communicate. Okay. Now, if you have a retrograde Mercury, you can still be a good communicator, but you might talk incessantly. You might ramble on. You might overtalk. You might have more nervous energy. You might crosstalk, or you're sitting there brimming with the idea, but you're working it out in your, well, if I say this, they might say that, and and so it might block the free flow of just giving the answer. So that's how it works. But I know several people, and you do too, you might not realize it, who were born with Mercury retrograde, who work in broadcast media and been on the radio forever. Now, are they repetitive and talk about the same thing over and over? But you know what I mean? Everybody has a gift. And the wonderful thing about the universe is you do not have to be a person that is perfectly aspected in every area of your life to do well or to be successful. Astrology or numerology and even tarot is, for me, is how do I work with what I have? How do I get the best out of it? So when I meet people who've only studied a little bit and say, oh my God, Mercury's going retrograde again, as if the sky is going to fall, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Um, there have been times, as I've mentioned before, when Mercury has gone retrograde and I found things that I thought were lost forever, because retro means to go back to. It wasn't lost, it was misplaced or overlooked. So that's what you do while things are retrograde. You go back and you look around your life. What did you start and didn't finish? Uh,
Mm-hmm.
what
Mm-hmm.
do you need to finish? What loose ends do you need to tie up? What did you say you were going to do? Because it's mundane. It's like, oh, I've moved on. Well, you think you've moved on, but you've left this situation. So a retrograde really gives you an opportunity to go back and clean up and straighten up some areas of your life so that when you come out of the cycle, you're not carrying as much with you while you're trying to move ahead.
That makes perfect, perfect sense. Um, I know Mercury goes retrograde. I understand there's only one planet out of all of them in our solar system that doesn't go retrograde, and that planet is supposedly the sun.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's another thing is over the last 30 years, I'm blessed based on your platform, Lloyd, to be able to educate and expose people about Mercury being retrograde. You know, so it's lovely um, to go from being quote unquote a reader, you know, where people think
Mm-hmm.
I know everything, to move up to an area where a lot of people know Mercury's going retrograde. A lot of people will call us during this cycle and say, look, I want to get a reading. I know Mercury's going to go retrograde. I know an eclipse is coming up. How best, you know, do I proceed, or is the best time for something? So it means a lot to me to see people become better educated and empowered. However, everybody's resting on their laurels and it's only Mercury. All of these planets, except for the sun, go retrograde from time to time. And moving forward, as we become better educated and more interested, we will start talking about the effects of Uranus being retrograde, of Saturn being retrograde, of Jupiter being, because they cover, one governs your money, your job, your career. Saturn is limitations, restrictions, obstacles, and delays. But the plus side is being stable, being responsible. And as I said, when a planet goes retrograde, it's not to punish you,
Mm-hmm.
to take inventory, or to deal with your karmic debts. It's oh, I meant to mention this. When The Color Purple came out and they had their big premiere on Christmas Day. I
Mm-hmm.
haven't been to a movie theater in 5 years. Just between COVID and my daughter said, "Mom, let's go see The Color Purple." And we went, and it was absolutely phenomenal. You know,
I understand it was more like a musical movie
it was a
than a
combination,
movie.
but at first it was like, well, I didn't know it was going to be a musical, because it went from being a movie to a musical. And you know how we are when we're not exposed to something. But when you sat down and you let yourself relax into it, it was
Mm-hmm.
absolutely phenomenal, top notch, nothing sad and depressing and wrenching. And the feedback was that it broke records. It drew more money at the box office in that first week. I mean, they did great PR. Okay. I'm bringing
Mm-hmm.
this up because Mercury was retrograde. And sometimes they don't have to believe in astrology, but I wish that we were in an age in 2024 where they could, at least, if they can check the weather, to see how the elements are. And I know that astrology has gotten a bad name, and there are people that are bogus and they're ripoffs, but you can go online now and look up certain information. I
Yeah.
wish people would start paying attention to the elements, to the vibe, where the planets are, because Mercury was retrograde when that movie premiered. And within 1 week after having this phenomenal opening, the next thing you know, Taraji P. Henson was talking about being a Black actress that was underpaid and had been underpaid for years. And because she chose to do this at the time that she was in The Color Purple, people assumed, and I honestly don't know, that it was related to that, but she said it had been for years. People
Mm-hmm.
bought that movie and they didn't go. That's par for the course of what can happen during a retrograde. It started off with a bang and then it fizzled out. Now,
Yeah. It's almost like overnight. It was, now you hear it, now you
and
don't.
that is the reason why, because people did not want to be responsible for supporting a movie where the actress that they loved and thought so much of might not be given adequate pay. And they assumed that, yes, she's been in other things, but if she waited until to be in The Color Purple to voice this, you see, that's what can happen, because, like I said, Mercury rules communications.
Mm-hmm.
It represents over optimism. It represents enthusiasm, and it governs all forms of communications. That's why I said this cycle is a cycle where you check the fine print. This is the cycle where you make sure that something is as good as it appears to be. And even if it is, some unforeseen thing can happen and it can just break, or you can just drop it. So this is a cycle to go back. Look at what you already have. Think about what you're trying to acquire versus what you already have. Are you taking care of that? Can you recycle it? Can you repurpose it? Can you reuse? Because that's what a retrograde represents. It represents repurpose, recycle, reuse.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Question.
Nobody's gonna send us their birth dates, or
I haven't even looked in the comment section.
okay, I'm not trying to tell you how to do your
No,
show.
no, 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 no,
Most
no,
times
not
I'm
at all, not at
not.
all. I want to make sure. I want to thank Jazz Aphrodite. That's always my moderator, Let's see. Oh, yes, I have somebody's birthday here, Elizabeth. Thanks so much, Elizabeth. She made a donation. She says she's a Taurus born on the same day as Stevie Wonder, May 13th. She's been feeling a little melancholy, and normally she says she is quite inspired. So, what say you about that with her,
Is
this
it
Taurus lady?
possible she can give the city and town she was born in?
Um,
See, because I need the whole birth date. I need the city, month, day, state. But I can do a general.
well, she's got these the month, the day, and the year.
Okay.
Um, but I know this. Well, I tell you this. I'm looking at her cycles, and it tells me she is in an 8 personal year. Some school of thoughts might say she's in a 7, waiting to get up to the 8 personal year. If it's on the 7 side of the personal year, that means she's more reflective. But if it's on the 8 side of the personal year, that means she is more about setting some kind of goals or some achievements or some markers for herself, whatever the case is. But I tell you this: whatever sign it is, it suggests she likes to think outside the box. Now,
I
now
just
here's
go
the, go
ahead.
ahead.
No, go
Now
ahead. Finish.
this is Chris C. She says she loves the show. She's born January the 27th of 87.
Okay. Well, the first person, the Taurus, um, really wants to move on and feels like it's time for her life to change. And some limitations and restrictions and responsibilities related to being with others or doing for others or being committed to others are making her feel weighed down and slowing her progress. So she's trying to figure out how she can move forward and get this stuff off of her back. And what I would suggest to her is this pressure is coming on her to make her realize what's important. It's like I said about if you're sick or you're shut in and you have to deal with being afraid that the people that you hoped would be there for you weren't going to be there for you. This is her reality check. She's going to be successful and she's going to make progress, but she needs to lighten her load. She needs to stop doing things the hard way and being used to doing things the hard way. And if it means cutting somebody off, letting them go, trying a new way, and even going in a different direction, things will get better and better for her and lighter and lighter.
Okay, good. Before I take another person, I do want to thank Stephen and Cal Williams out of Chicago. They're one of my biggest fans, the biggest part of the family. I have a very wide family here called the Live with Lloyd family.
We love you.
Um,
We love you.
yeah, because all the people are so nice, and I mean, they give me a lot of props, but I think part of their success is because I have great guests like you and countless others on and trying to raise people's awareness. This is Stephen E. He's born November the 17th. Now, he is born at 10:24 a.m.
Mm-hmm.
So that means his sun is probably sitting where in about the ninth house,
Mm-hmm.
somewhere
Mm-hmm.
around about there, about. So
You
what
can.
say you about this Scorpio person born on the 17th, Stephen E.?
Okay. Stephen is a twofold person. He's a private person that likes to play his cards close to his breast. Um, he loves learning. He knows more than he gets credit for, but there's a Taurus energy that's sitting on him now. Give me his year again.
It is 76.
Okay. Yeah, there's a Taurus energy that's sitting on him now. And that Taurus energy is putting him in a me or thee situation. It doesn't have to be me or thee. He just has to choose what's working for him. He
Mm,
doesn't have to do both. You know, there are areas in his life where the people that are around him are good for him. But then there are areas where he feels a little stymied, stifled, and blocked. he has to be careful not to make it appear to other people that good, bad, or otherwise, I'm here for you. That means setting up parameters and boundaries, letting you know I'm good for you up to this point, but that part right there is not working for me. And don't try to make me feel like I'm a bad person if I don't sign on for that. You know, Scorpios, they hold things in until they break. And then when they blow up, people are like, wow, I didn't know you felt like that. So it's about balance. It's about
Yeah.
how to claim stuff as you go along without the drama. You know what I mean? Which is like, oh, so we doing that now, and I'm all up in that. I didn't sign up for that part. Learning how to make a joke out of things, make light of it, playing the tape of the ridiculous things that other people are trying to get you into and sign up for, and then say like they say in Chicago, what that do? You know what I mean? That
Yeah.
would be a good way for him to get through this.
Now I got another person, Holly Hermit. He didn't give his birthday, but you know what I've noticed though? The whatever the amount that people donate as a rule gives a clue to the sign or the birthday. So in this case, this adds up to 14, and 1 + 4 is 5. So
Mm-hmm.
although he didn't give his birthday yet, it means it would suggest just from his donation, using reverse deduction, that A, he could have either been a Gemini or Virgo and a minor way Aquarius, or
Mm-hmm.
born on the 5th, the 14th, or the 23rd. But I thank him very, very much uh,
Mm-hmm.
for that. Um, let's see who we have here. Oh, before we get any more, what about this eclipse taking place a week from today on the 8th?
Okay.
Excuse me, yeah, the solar eclipse, and it's a total one too.
Yes, yes. Now, this is what I want to say. Like you and on any form of media, they're telling you don't look at the sun, don't look up without glasses, don't be delusional. You know, we've been raised to be excited about these things like, oh, I don't want to miss this phenomena. But this is sort of like a person being pregnant and now we're in labor and the baby's coming out. Everybody's not allowed in that room. We need to stay inside, to meditate, to pray, to fast, and to think about all the trauma and drama that's going on in the world, and that these eclipses have the potential to set off or exacerbate pre-existing situations. You know,
Understood on
this
that
is
one.
not
Definitely understood.
party. This is not. This goes back to what I was saying about how I wish in 2024 um, astrology was being respected and more intelligently used in the news and media, as opposed to fun and games and if I'm gonna win the lottery or get
Yeah,
that
they
name.
do make it entertaining, but you and I know it's dead serious.
Yeah, but also the most important thing is how to take advantage of this cycle, how to get out of our own way, how to protect ourselves. That's really what it's about. That's really what it's for. So, with another eclipse coming up, that is going to be so powerful. And by being in that fire energy and it being combustible, you know, we
Hmm.
need to be falling back. We need to be calming down. We need to be hunkering in place. I'm not saying hide and cower, but just realize that this is a critical cycle where certain things can jump off, are likely to jump off. I'm not astute enough to know exactly when and where, but the things that I have witnessed as a result, and as I said, it doesn't always have to be on the same day like it was next Monday. It could be within a couple of weeks. Aretha
Hmm.
Franklin passed during an eclipse. I remember a family member's mother died during an eclipse on their birthday, they were so shocked that when they were trying to, get to the family, they thought they were in reverse and actually drove into the garage. And then the day of the funeral, as they were bringing the body in, the funeral home dropped the body. That's a lot.
Yeah, yeah,
That's a lot. So what I'm saying is these eclipses, would be they solar or lunar, they're not always going to bring in bad things. You add them to where the sun is. You add them to where the moon is. You add them to if the signs that these different occurrences are compatible with one another. If
hmm
they're not, the adversity they're likely to cause. But you learn to fall back and respect them. You let them pass. You can say, we had an eclipse, the moon was full, the planets were opposing. I got myself together. I paid. This is when old debts come back. These are when karma comes back. Because when things occur, you feel like you're being punished. But very often, some of the things that are occurring are things that you kind of knew or you hoped it wasn't going right, but you hoped, that it was going
hmm
to, and boom, it just so you work with that energy, you work around that energy. And another thing is fall back from people who are self-righteous and dogmatic, because as this particular one is during a fire sign.
yeah.
And
And then under the sign of Aries at that, the Aries
yeah,
normally think they're
Aries
pretty good.
leader,
Okay.
but they will fight you and argue and be dogmatic and unyielding, and you're supposed to just go, really? Okay. Let me get back to you. No, see
Yeah,
the thing
yeah.
is
No, in
learning.
other words, cut it off at the pass, right?
No, but it's it's
Don't fall into it.
right. It's learning. It's learning because all Aries aren't that way. Some
No.
Aries have more Pisces energy than anything else. But it's learning certain key words that will get you out of trouble. Let me get back to you. That's not convenient for me.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, because you don't realize until it's over that you didn't have to get in that fight. You didn't have to overcommit. But because we love them or we care or we don't want to be combative, we compromise. And this is a cycle where if you compromise in situations where your gut is saying no, but you don't want to be a bad guy, you don't want to make people mad. If you compromise, you lose your power.
Here's what I want to ask you. You talked about some of the do's, and especially from the spiritual side: prayer, meditation, reflection, renew, refresh, rethink. What about things I've heard? Like I did a interview recently, and as I was doing my research, it says, well, during the solar eclipse, you should not drink, you should not eat, you should not sleep, you should not get into physical activities. The one that I was always consistent about, you should not look at the sun. Is that true? Because I think um, manufacturers of these solar eclipse glasses is making a small fortune right now.
They're
Should
not
should
making a
one look at the sun?
they're making a big fortune. Yeah, that. But see, that's what I'm saying about the things that we are being taught and educated about are not necessarily good for us. They know that looking at the sun during an eclipse is dangerous, and
Well,
that
I had somebody responded to me, said they've always looked at the eclipse and they've never had a problem.
well, I looked at the eclipse probably when I was younger and I didn't know any better. Okay. But I did it, from a distance. I didn't go out there and go eclipse watching. So there might have been some
Yeah,
damage done. But what
yeah,
I'm
yeah.
saying, unfortunately, we are still in a time where profit precedes everything. Instead of coming out and just being honest and saying, there have been studies that have proven that there can be long-term substantial damage from staring at an eclipse. But we got glasses And for $9.99,
No, but you never lied though. I'm serious on that because let me tell you, it's very interesting. This is the example right here. Okay.
mhm,
And then they got some a little bit more sophisticated where you could put these glasses over glasses like what we wear when we have it. So, and it says supposed to be certified. Then they said that people have to be careful of buying fake glasses, because they got imitation this, that, and the other. So I don't know what to make of all this. Me,
this
when
is
I
the
grew up,
world that we live in, Lloyd. Unfortunately, this is the world that we live in. It sometimes is primarily profit over anything else. I remember growing up, they used to tell us as young ladies to take some baby powder and sprinkle it on your pits and parts to keep you fresh and clean and smelling. And then 30 years later, it turns out that using baby powder can cause cervical cancer. I
yeah,
mean, this is
yeah,
the world.
yeah,
I don't mean to be so extreme, but we are a Piscean people as a race of people. And Piscean people are very sensitive, they're very caring, they're very intuitive, they're very creative, musical, all of that. But we're also very delusional and we're very dreamy. And sometimes we can get so addicted to the good news or the good version of the story that we become like the Wicked Witch. Don't nobody bring me no bad news. We need to strive for balance at this time. We need to move into being a culture that's okay with the truth, that's looking for the truth, that can take advantage of the truth, that can share and educate each other with the truth. And we are coming out of a cycle now that we've moved into the Aquarian age, where it's going to be the truth at all costs. But for some of them, it's going to be so drastic. It's going to be so harsh. It's like, you're laying there sleeping, they snatch the covers off and turn the lights on at the same time. You know what I mean? But this is where we're headed. This is what we need to make that transition from having been duped, from having been deceived, for allowing ourselves to get lost in self deception. One last thing I want to mention in case we run out of time is I'm truly grateful for everything that our phones can do and all the information and education that they provide, but they are equally as dangerous. There is no way that, based on the level of time that we're spending on our phones, and they are so highly addictive, even when you try to be disciplined, I'm only going to get on and do this, and it shows you this and this and that, and then you go down. They are changing our brain waves.
yes, it is. Yes, it emits waves too. Yes.
It's changing our brain waves, and it'll probably be a couple of years, and after they've made as much money as they can make, that they will admit it. So we need to have the strength, the courage, and the discipline to distance ourselves from them. That means that if it's less dangerous to use a laptop, if it's less dangerous to use your phone but use an earbud. But I mean, people are sleeping with their phones. Your phone is your new boyfriend. You wake up and the phone is in bed under the covers with you. You know, it's just so dangerous.
Yeah,
And it's
yeah.
but the impact of what it's having on your brain, what it's having on what you think
Well,
about.
they already know that it emits waves, and now
Mhm.
that this what they call it G5 or 5G or whoever mother that is, that doesn't make it any more. But just to get apart though, this Khalil Roberts, he says he's looked at the solar eclipse with the naked eye as well as in the past.
That's okay. You did.
So
God
so
bless you.
yeah, so some say they do, some say they don't, whatever. But I have this person here, and they gave their birthday. They're Cancer 6. They're born at 3:57 p.m. Central Standard Time. and they said they got a Libra moon, a
Mm,
Scorpio ascendant, and they
mm.
said they are a typical water sign, but not emotional, not emotional. They said left brain leading, analytical, logic oriented. What can you deduce from just that statement she says, you think?
Okay, well, she's
3.
7673. Well, the good thing about it is with that, did she say she had a Scorpio rising? Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
Keeps her
Mm-hmm.
plays her cards close to her breast, but she holds things in too long. She tries
Mm-hmm.
to use her information like a detective. Like it's like I know you're grimy, but I'm gonna go with it. But at the right time, I'm gonna get you. You know, she needs to kind of unfurl herself from that, because that's how she operates. You know, she knows a lot. This person is a detective. They can gather and assess information about you, but if they love you or they care about you, they'll try to work with you, around
Mm-hmm.
you, and through
Mm-hmm.
you. She
Mm-hmm.
needs to let herself try to be a little bit more spontaneous in terms of just for her own self care, acting like she knows what she knows, what she knows. Now, that doesn't mean blowing up the other person's spot, but acting accordingly because that Libra moon wants you to love them. And that Libra moon doesn't want anybody to be mad. And that Libra moon doesn't like to argue. So it's about balancing the energy of who she is. You know what I mean? Cancer, sensitive, loving, caring, affectionate. Scorpio rising, a hidden detective, the ability to keep secrets for a long time and store information. And then the Libra doesn't want to fight, doesn't want to argue, but sometimes they put up with stuff so long that they want to blame the other person. I can't believe I did this, that, and the third, and now you. But baby, you're a water sign with a water rising. You're one of the most intuitive. You knew before they even do it. You have to go by how they make you feel. Does it work for you? Are you going against yourself? Respecting your gut and your intuition because that's your God. That's the gift God gave you to help make your way. You can't go against all of that. And then if the situation implodes because you gave them 99 chances, now you're upset and hurt.
Hmm. That makes sense. Before we got about 5 or 6 minutes or so, I want to make sure that people can get in touch with you. I mean, because there's so much to talk about, but we have Sister Khalea Washington. She is an astro empowerment specialist. My favorite word for you is when you would say solar biologist. I guess,
Mhm.
Gary, that's one of my favorites. But we all evolve, you know. You're a lecturer, and she's much more than a lecturer. She has a clothing line. She's something else, but her number is 973-951 5846. That's 973-951 5846. And by the way, for those of you who would like to email her, is Khalea Seeley at outlook.com. That's because Khalea Seeley, Seeley at outlook.com. Also, please support her through the Cash App and PayPal. She, among, I would imagine, about 95% of the guests I have on, like you, Khalea, and others, don't have 9 to 5s. There's something about in our spirit that we decided we're going to do this with humanity, and
Well,
I think we're the most underpaid, underrated in that sense. Um,
well,
but
you
yeah,
know,
people always seek out counsel.
well,
They
you
always,
know, I have worked traditional jobs most of my life, and I always did this. I did it because I loved it. I need to say that you are chiefly responsible for making me what I am today. And what I'm saying by that is that this was something that I always was interested in. I loved studying, I loved investigating it. I never saw myself doing this in a public domain, even though my first chart said that I would be a famous astrologer. I was like, oh, please. I didn't want to be judged, But when I met you and you invited me to be on your show, it took some convincing. And first I turned you down, you know. But being on your show gave me a platform that I respected. And the people who called to consult with me were people who I respected. And so that makes you dig within the reservoirs of yourself to try to be as good as you can, to really try to be a help, to show them not just, oh, I read this is the read me and she was so good, so that they could leave empowered, so that they would be able to match the information I was giving them with what they were thinking and feeling. So we could just look at, well, how do we use this cycle? How do we get out of this cycle? How do we make the most of this cycle? How do we get out? It was a job. I've been on shows with many people, as you know, just like you. But
Mm-hmm.
certain people, if they respect you, if they appreciate you, if they encourage you, if they facilitate you, it makes you better. And that has been the blessing of our relationship. And it's one of the things that I'm most proud of.
Yeah, we have known each other for long, and we were in the trenches, as they call it, too. It was
Mm-hmm.
no joke.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Mm-hmm.
it's very, very nice,
I
Khalea.
heard
Go ahead.
someone was imitating you and trying to knock you off. That's happened to me. Now, they say that it's the highest form of flattery, but it's in these days of identity theft, it's really daunting when somebody is trying to
Well,
pretend.
my attitude is, don't you have something else better to do? Don't you know
Obviously
what I'm
not.
saying?
Obviously not
But
in this.
the sad part about it is, if they can take that kind of energy to try to imitate or create us, imagine what they could do if they focus on their own.
Listen, that's why we have a new word that's being spoken universally, hackers. You
Yeah,
know,
yeah.
so we're just in a different age, but I'm glad that you were alerted. I hope you can get on top of it.
Um,
What is real?
people have told me, people have texted me,
Hmm.
people have reached out to me and told me. So it's very, very nice in that way.
You can
This
go to the Apple store and they'll take care of it for you. If you
who?
have an iPhone, just stop in the Apple store and they will take care of it.
Well, you know what I do too at the beginning of the show. If you notice, I will say I do not, whether live with Lloyd or Lloyd Strayhorn, will DM you for money. Uh,
Hmm.
I just don't do that. But there have been some who've shown me some texts that have been sent to them, and the language they use, well, love. That's not how I talk to my clients.
Yeah.
There's certain phraseologies. My mother
Hmm.
raised me better than that, and we not
Hmm.
that familiar. Okay,
Hmm.
so it's little things like that. But hey, be that as it may, I guess what they call it, imitation is the best form of flattery. I think
Not
that's what the
always. That's just a saying. Not always.
yeah, yeah,
But again,
yeah.
I thank you. I hope that the information that we've discussed and shared has been enlightening and a little less complicated. I don't want you to be afraid or terrified
No,
about.
it's nothing to be afraid. It's just being aware. There's a difference.
Mhm,
There's a
mhm,
difference, and
mhm.
that's why I try to
Oh,
have a wide range of people. Yes.
and I also want to just pay tribute to our now departed ancestor Lou Gossett. I absolutely loved him. He made
Yes, I heard
such a
about that. Did he just pass away the other
he
day?
made such a valuable contribution. He was a waymaker, and a pathfinder. And when I was looking up his birthday, which is May 27th,
Yep,
uh,
he's a Gemini. Yep.
yeah, and he was born in Brooklyn. Um, I discovered that he had, well, first of all, he had polio when he was 10. He overcame that. Okay. But then when he graduated high school, the Knicks wanted him to play for the Knicks, and he loved ball, but he had also gotten the role in A Raisin in the Sun, and he chose acting. Typical Gemini, that duality, the
Yeah,
opportunity.
yeah,
Because
yeah.
most people, especially young black men, they would have went with ball, but perhaps his family made him think about the challenges and the consequence of having a short career with possible injuries. And he ended up becoming the phenomenal actor that we know and love. So I just wanted to acknowledge
You
him.
know, we were on the same page like that because people, we will, as young black men, get caught up into the basketball drama, the allure of it, the
Mm-hmm.
upfront money of it. But it's
Mm-hmm.
normally a very short career.
Mm-hmm.
Versus
Mm-hmm.
movies, he was in it for decades. He's
Mm-hmm.
done some classics, you name it, and you know that's a nice legacy. But Clea, I want to thank you so much, dear. And
Thank you. If they want to get in touch with me, the best time to reach me is before 12 noon and after 6 p.m. And we can set something up. I love you. I hope that this retrograde goes as well and as smoothly as possible. But remember, it is what you make it. Don't rush headlong into anything. Don't sign anything. Take your time, pace yourself, breathe, and be kind to others.
that is so simple. Just being kind. Manners are still magic. This is what I teach my family. Anyway, the number is 976-951-5846. That's 973-951 5846. And please donate with Cash App, PayPal. Eventually, I do believe we're going to do a lecture together out in Newark
Yeah.
Library at some point. That should be coming up over the summer, whatever the case is. So that's
Mhm.
going to be a pleasure. And I'll have you back on so we can put more emphasis on it. Okay.
Thank you for having me as always. I always
Thank
appreciate.
you. Thank you. And much love to you too, Khalea. You're the best. You're the best. And in fact, Khalea is one of the few people, whenever I had some astrological decisions to make, I would always call her. Okay. And I'm very picky about almost everything I do, but I would always call Khalea. And there was a situation where she told me, like, you need to go to the nearest exit. I didn't pay it no mind, but she spoke the truth. Okay. Truth where truth is. Okay. Khalea, thank you so much, dear. And you have a blessed day. Okay. So now what I want to do is let people know a couple of things that the sponsorship has been brought to you by King Simon, who's got an event coming up on Friday and Saturday, April 13th, and Sunday, April 14th. Who's sponsoring the show. I was on his show last night with many of the persons that you'll be seeing on that Saturday and Sunday, April 13th and 14th. Also, Miss Jazz Aphrodite. And please, she is one of the best of the best. And when she is underneath the title astronumerologist, she's earned it. She is one of the best, and I say that too. And so please join her master class. For those who've gone to any of her classes, whether it's tarot, I mean not tarot, whether it's cardiology or numerology, and some other classes she's given. Uh, it's she's good. She's good. I'm telling you, I will vouch for her anytime, any day, morning, noon, night, winter, sleet, snow, summer. Seriously, she's got it like that with me. And also Miss Manifest on Purpose, Miss Kimberly, and in fact, the piece for the show, um, for the 20 April 2024 forecast is aired. This is the newsletter. Everybody should have got their newsletter this morning. Okay, it's in your sitting in your email boxes. Trust me. There's a thing that you need to know. I'm an Aquarius, so I'm near the end, and certain other people. So they said that because of the way it's mailed, that they think it stops like a Scorpio. It doesn't stop. You see at the top right where it says view in a browser. If you click that, you will get to see all of the zodiac signs. Okay, because I couldn't figure out how I couldn't see mine. All right, and I'm writing a newsletter. But if you click on view in a browser, but when you get it in the email, it kind of looks like that in the beginning. So now there's another feature that I've also added to the newsletter, which is this. If you now look, this is an example. I just pulled one of the signs up. And if you look at the bottom of it, where I'm giving the favorable and unfavorable or challenging dates, I now have it where, because each month I now do a recording of the zodiac signs. But believe it, I have to edit about what you're reading is about maybe 20%, 25% of what I talked about. So I've just came up with this concept, and thanks to Miss Kimberly, she would send me the link. So I put the link there where you can actually hear what I said for more embellished description and also the time frame. So therefore, every one of you will have at your sign a time frame where you could actually hear what I said in more detail. I like this concept too because of the fact that what it will do is allow you to listen to the sign of your brother, your child, your mate, a love interest, and things like that. And if you go to YouTube, this is it on the screen. Okay, it is um, the April 2024 numerology forecast by Zodiac. And I talked about the solar eclipse. I talked about the lunar eclipse. I talked about the retrograde. I think went way over an hour, but I talked about all the signs included. But that premiered today. And if you go there, you can see or listen to it in its entirety from beginning to end. Or if you just want to go to your sign, when you go to your newsletter, just click on your respective sign, click on the link, go to the time frame, and you are right there. All righty. Now, people have asked me again about learning how to do this as a career. Uh, I've It took me a while to think about it, but I've made it a career and I've made it pretty good too. There are things that I can save people a lot of wear and tear. So I'm having a workshop over the summer called Numbers You and Beyond Workshop. Is learning the art of numerology as a career. So if you're interested in being a professional numerologist and earning a living, just drop me a line right there at a star 8 llc at gmail.com. That's a star 8 llc at gmail.com. I'm going to have an interesting guest on. She hasn't been on my show for a while. I think it's Sister Khalif, if I'm not mistaken, who will be gracing us this Wednesday. But in the meantime, I want everybody to be safe. Today's supposed to be April Fool's Day. It's not. Today is a very serious day. It's about making sure you're very clear because Mercury rules communications. And so, in the case of my newsletter, there's one way of how I write. And then when you listen to the broadcast that I did on the 2024 April forecast, it's a totally different. There are two fine arts between what you say and how you write, and it took me a while to get both. With my um, audio part, I'm kind of getting animated because I'm so used to kind of making it in an entertaining way, but really, it's very serious behind all of that kind of humor and stuff that I put into it too. But I want to thank you. But for those of you who are really interested in learning how to do this, and yes, you can. I've survived. I've raised a number of children, fed my family. Yes, it was not easy in the beginning, but I didn't know the things I know, and I can save those of you who are really sincere about learning this art a lot of wear and tear, frustrations, money, and stress. I've been through it all. I've been through it all. I'm here to tell you in that way. I kid you not, I'm definitely qualified. But in the meantime, again, for those who are very interested in making it a career, go to the Numbers and You Beyond Workshop, learn the art of numerology as a career, and just write to or email to a star 8 llc at gmail.com, a star 8 llc at gmail.com. Someone will be sending you a response. And for those of you who have downloaded my app, I thank you very much. There's still, I got this thing about being perfect. Nothing is perfect. I should know better. There are always kind of bugs. I don't like it sometimes when there are bugs, but I'm realizing it. I mean, as long as Apple's been around and Microsoft, they still send you updates to what correct the bugs. So I've got to learn how to get with the program. But for those of you, I do thank you very, very much for downloading the app, and whatever improvement you can have, please do. And by the way, I am on TikTok too. For those of you who are interested, I also have a course on it, a series. It's numerology, it's astronumerology for beginners. It's a special TikTok. It's not seen any other way. It's not on my Learn from Lloyd series that you see. Is totally, totally just for that particular audience. But I want to thank everybody, and all of you have a nice day. I look forward to seeing you on Wednesday. All righty. And y'all take good care. And I guess that's about it. Bye.